people, not traffic. I mean, you guys really have got some serious attention. My questions are about cybersecurity because, I mean, we talked about recalibrate as the theme for Realcomm IBCon 2019, and recalibrating them towards cybersecurity, which was I think the predominant theme here. I mean, every time we turn around, it's about cybersecurity, and you all have some good things about cybersecurity. And I know from the past that you always talk about you could do the assessments, find out where your organization's at. You can make a policy or a program, tell people what they need to do, but there's a piece missing. So tell us about that piece that's missing that you all now have.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, as you referenced, we can do a site assessment where we can give a risk score, and that's really important. Most people don't even know what they have on site. And then, of course, you have to have policy then to remediate that. But what you're referring to is, if I've seen my risk, and I've created a policy, now how do I monitor that policy ongoing? And that's the part that we're getting into now with our customers that's been missing for a long time. If you've got 100 buildings, you have 1,000 control systems and hundreds of contractors. That's why this falls in the category of vendor risk management, because you can't possibly consider several hundred contractors complying with your cyber policy without some service or tool for that.
And Tom, as a piggyback on that, even when a vendor makes his controller more cybersecurity, improves all the measures, there's still an issue there that the controllers, all these different systems, how do you monitor the controllers themselves?
Yeah, that's a great point. So you need some automation to do that. It's a combination. We're providing as a managed service, but it's a combination of a tool and a managed service, and you've got to speak to the control system to find out what's in it. And some of the manufacturers are doing this for themselves, and they're creating their own configuration management. But the problem is, our big customers have many more manufacturers than just one or two or three. So they've got to have some level set way to look at it across the board.
Okay. So Tom, if I'm understanding this correctly, you guys can then sort of be the third-party verification, among other things, with the monitoring. But let me just back up for a second, because I think you bring up some great points. First, you got to know if you're having a problem. So you guys have an assessment. I know you guys actually give away a free assessment tool, right?
Yeah, we have a tool that customers can easily take a self-guided questionnaire, or we can do it as a service. Right. It's a question of how much depth you want to go into, and that usually just starts the conversation going.
Right, I mean, I think you got to start someplace. You got to admit you have a problem, or at least find out if you have a problem to begin with. And I don't know anybody with a building that doesn't have a problem, because if they don't, I mean, with the hackers out there, so you got that first. So then you got to come up with policy. Now, you mentioned that. So the policy is basically something that I guess you guys, again, being the great translators, help write so that the building automation people, the owners, can then get a language document that the people that are working in the building can comply with. So everybody understands there's no sort of wiggle room for, well, I didn't know that's what you meant.
Yeah, exactly right. The building owner or manager has to have their set of requirements for all contractors, and that is not in place in most of the cases. So we can put that policy together, but then again, that just starts the awareness of your problem and your challenge, and you've got to monitor those contractors. And by the way, this is not anything negative about the contractors, integrators. They're just not one for all the buildings. So the owner needs that one level set dashboard across the entire portfolio.
Well, and that's something that you guys can create. And of course, the other thing that goes on, I mean, anybody that's dealt with contractors, I think I'm thinking of our owners, you know that, one contractor thinks he's done it right, somebody else thinks he doesn't, you get all this argument and stuff like that, but you guys got a team of people that understand it from soup to nuts. I know one of your people on your staff is Fred Gordy, working one of the top systems integrators on the planet, but you guys got the staff, so if you're working on an owner's behalf, basically, they don't have to haggle with these people. You can make sure they're compliant, because they're not going to buffalo Fred Gordy or some of your team, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, you mentioned that they could have, the individual contractors could have good policy and even good situations, but still different. Yeah. And if I'm managing 100 buildings, different's not going to work for me in terms of assessing my risk.
Right. So again, you guys are pulling it together. And now talk about the ongoing monitoring, because that's a piece that I hadn't heard of, but I think now that you say it, it's just common sense that it's like taking your car and getting it tuned up. That's great, but you still got to monitor it, because at some point in time, you're going to need to tune it up again. So talk about the monitoring part of it.
Yeah, the thing about the monitoring is it's different than regular IT monitoring. Most people think about, I've got to know in 5 seconds if somebody's breached my network and some red light goes off. In this case, we're talking about, again, let's say dozens, hundreds, or even 1,000 control systems. What I really need to know is, are they beginning to come out of compliance over time? So it's not a real-time problem. It's something that slides out of compliance that creates risk. So there's a little less pressure in that way, but it's information that they hadn't had before.
Very, very, very cool. And I think, again, from my experience with you guys, and we've had the pleasure of knowing you guys for years, it's like, you guys are, first of all, you're great to work with. You're easygoing. Nobody's pushy, not even Fred Gordy. Well, Rob Murchison can be a little pushy from time to time, but that's Rob. But he's good because if you got a contractor who's not complying, you just stick Rob on him, right?
That's right. That's what we do every time.
But just so to engage you guys, well, hang on. Whoa, I forgot something here. Hold this real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Kenny Smyers wants to kill for this. I understand there's only one of these things here. So before we go forward, Kenny's going to try and take this. But what is this, and why should people care?
That is a Navigant State of Smart Buildings report that we sponsor, co-sponsored, I should say. And if folks want to email us at contact@intelligentbuildings.com, we can tell them how to get a copy of that. But what's interesting, it is the State of Smart Buildings, but there are some very, very useful survey information from the industry that shows the importance of operational risk and cybersecurity.
Very impressive document. Tom, again, congratulations to your team. I really think that you guys are filling a niche and providing high-level, advice, consulting, and then you can also, again, cure a lot of the problems that, like Eric said, every building has its challenges. But if you give people the tools and you can consolidate that into one single pane and know where you're at, then you've basically solved a lot of problems.
No, I appreciate that. And that we've been able to help our customers. To sum that up with just methodology. You can't eat the elephant in one bite. What is the methodology,
Right.
whether it's cybersecurity or smart building development or management?
Right.
Yeah, so you've got another guy, branching out again. You guys are working with a lot of different people, which I think if you're going to be a consultant, you want to have specialties in all domains. And we alluded to a little bit earlier that, you can't really buffalo a contractor if you got a Fred Gordy on, but you got an affiliation with another guy who knows a little bit about network controls. Tell our community a little bit about Steve Fay and how you guys are working together.
Oh, sure. So Steve Fay leads a company called Totem Building Cybersecurity.
But hang on a second. Before he did that, he ran Tritium, right?
Well, that's exactly right. Yes. So he's a known quantity and a real expert in the smart building software space, and he leads a company that has developed the software tool that we use for our assessments and our monitoring, even the scoring that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So that's a real development.
Well, that just bodes well for the future. You guys got a lot of exciting things to look forward to, and we'll see you next year, and then your booth is going to be bigger, and you have more partners, right?
Well, thanks for your support, guys. We appreciate all you do for the industry.
Well, you bet, guy. And you bet, Tom. And, our community like me is probably just want to know one question. How do we invest in your company?
IntelligentBuildings.com.
There you go, brother. Tom, thanks so much. And listen, I'm taking this. First person that emails us at hvaccontrolpro@gmail.com. I'm going to give you Kenny's copy. He's not going to like it. So thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. A lot of fun.